Greetings, everybody, and welcome to another installment of Pod Stallions. I am Brian, and with me, as always, because there wouldn't be a show without him, is Jason.
Oh, bless your heart. Yes, I am Jason. Hi, everyone. How are you?
I don't think they're going to reply, but
It's just kind of a universal royal.
Okay, you just
yeah. The world. That's me embracing the world, not just the show, not just you. That's my universal greeting.
Well, hopefully, what's said about giving love is it comes back.
Well, listen, I've paid more and gotten less for love.
No good deed goes unpunished.
What is this, episode 102, 103, 102?
This, I don't remember. I think it's 102.
I think it's 102. Look at us. I remember when we were just episode 20.
Barely shaved back then.
That's a lot of episodes. That's a lot of topics.
Yeah. That's a lot of us talking sent out into the void. And I like to think that it's bouncing off satellites right now, going into outer space.
Can you imagine? That's a great idea for a show or a movie.
Yeah.
Where some hyper intelligent race got some wires scrambled, and all they're getting is our podcast.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
And they think that we're the two smartest people on the planet, and they're looking because of all the incredible knowledge that we have.
These wise men have so much to say on the subject of Tom Baker.
Well, it's like a combination. It's like it's stealing from Galaxy Quest and it's stealing from Explorers.
Oh yeah,
a movie.
And there's also a Futurama like that.
And they're obsessed with our pop culture, but the only voices they're getting that are critiquing it or talking about it are ours, and therefore they think we must be.
We are shaping their experience.
That's right. That's right.
So now that's a planet that's very mixed on Buckaroo Banzai.
Yes. Even
there's bloody wars.
Even they haven't come to a consensus on Buckaroo Banzai. Highly advanced race, highly intelligent. But it's episode 102, and we're very excited to be here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for once, I will not be yawning this evening because I just woke up from a brilliant nap. So.
Had a nap. Well, listen, I want to say, because we've come so far with this and we've done this, for those of you that know Brian from all of his other adventures and other things that he constantly sort of is involved with and talking about and posting about, etc. We are the two pilots of this thing. We are driving the ship, or driving the.
We are the co-managers.
The Chrysler Cordoba, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
We are both the engine and the drivers, but Brian is sort of the computer electronic system of the vehicle, that without that your car's dead. Your car ain't going anywhere. So Brian does all the heavy lifting with getting this thing out to the universe. I am just the sex leather interior of the vehicle.
You're the eye candy, sir.
I'm the Corinthian leather and the air freshener, basically, of the car. But so thank you, Brian. As I probably don't do enough, because without your sending this out to the universe, you made me think of it when you said that. Like we can sit here and chat and do this, but you're the one who, we slice the bread together, but you package it and get it out to the store and send the signal out. So without you.
Yeah, my pleasure. I really enjoy doing it. And it's gotten down to a science. I used to sit there and cry, but now I've figured it out. And
well, it's it's a huge part of the process that you're doing. So, because I can barely send attachments. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, it's funny. My kids will watch TikTok while they're having breakfast sometimes. And to me, that is, what is this? I don't understand it. To me, is if you did a kind of a parody of the future, what the future is going to be like 25 years ago, TikTok would be in it. People watching little 5-second shorts with no attention span. So I'm not as techie as I'd like to be, but
it really is ouch my balls. It truly is. Like it is ouch my balls. is what TikTok tends to be. I'm not saying you can't get good information from it and good things can't come from it, but it is all part of this bite-sized world that we're living in, this, headlines only, or, someone puts a tweet out and says, did you know that so-and-so did this back in 87? And before you know it, for 24 hours, everybody wants them dead. And then 24 hours later, somebody goes, it wasn't that Tom Sawyer, it was the Rush song Tom Sawyer, or whatever it is that they've got.
Yeah.
And everybody has to spend 48 hours apologizing to said thing because no one's digging any deeper. And that's really what we're doing is kind of the antithesis of, watching a lot of YouTube stuff, because we're going to talk about the thing that I'm doing right now. Might as well.
Yeah.
I'm now doing a new project that I've been hired by Entertainment Earth to do, which is a little pop culture show. It's called Plastic Soul. It's my thing.
Great choice.
Thank you. And each one is 7, 8, 9 minutes long, and it's just about it sometimes ties into items, current things that are happening and that you can order and that are out there for anybody to find, or it's just me riffing on Kenny Everett, or the Monty Python records, or my first trip to London, anything, whatever sort of strikes me, and then it's maybe tie it into something current toward the end. But it's just me talking to the camera and just telling a little story, and filling it up with images and little references and things like that. And kind of, it's grown as it started, and I knew it was going to be a little bumpy the first few, because I'm trying to find a tone for it. And looking at all this stuff on YouTube, which I watch all the time anyway, but it's either somebody sitting in a chair looking at the camera for 90 minutes, dissecting the new episode of Discovery, Star Trek Discovery.
And it's longer than the episode itself.
Right. No footage, nothing to reference, but just to sit there and talk, which apparently people can enjoy as well. Or they're nice, 20, 25 minute, like Toy Galaxy ones. That's just, he sits down and he's got that script and it's just with tons of information, coming at you. But it's in a nice, packet of info there. And then there's some that are just, 3-4 minutes, or these tiny little, or the headline of it doesn't match what the thing is, but they've got you there to look at stuff. And it's hard to determine where people go for information, or how much they can sort of take. I'm trying to make these Plastic Soul ones to a reasonable length of time, like 8-9 minutes, where you go, okay, I got the info, I'm good. And how much longer can I look at this guy? He's so hideous.
You know what? I'm the exact same way, and it's just, it is what it is. I have friends who can review Amigo figure for an hour, and they have a following. I'm not going to say they're doing it wrong. They're able to sit there and pontificate on something. I can't. I don't know if it's just it's not in me to give. And I just think that you go with what your style is, because you got to be authentic to yourself. So if you can do 8-9 minutes,
if I can, it's just there's edits here and there, but it's kind of like what we're doing, where it's improvised. I mean, I know what the outline is in my head, where I'm going to sort of go with it. But it is very different than being on a podcast, like guesting on Monster Party, or doing this with you, whatever it is. You've got foil, got people to bounce off of on your.
We got foil on your head too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right now.
Yeah.
It's different just kind of doing it on your own, because you can get sort of self-conscious and think, how much longer, do I sort of go with this? But like when you do your videos of like, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, like some of the bootleg, when you get those bootleg shipments, and that is not a bite-sized bit of information, and it's not a 30-minute bit of information. It's like a perfect digestion. You know what I mean? It's a great little meal that tells you what these things are. And, because those tend to be like 9-10 minutes long or so.
Those are my favorites to do. And I try not, I get a lot more in, but I don't do a whole bunch, because I don't have to do much research on those, right?
Right.
I don't know where this comes from, and so those are kind of fun, and I just try to figure out things. But usually my videos are 10 to 15 minutes tops.
Yeah, see, that's a nice bit of information. Like, again, nothing against somebody sitting in a chair.
Oh gosh, no. It's like I It's
for
all
90,
just,
you know, the trailer, the newest trailer for, you know, Predator 5 or whatever. Like, if you can get 90 minutes out of a 4-minute trailer, and you want to get people are gonna, I don't know if people stick around and they see the whole thing or not, but I think it's about you're right. I think it's about the way you convey the information, and what this thing is meant to be, and what the request was something that's authentic. Like, no, car salesman, in your face video, like, hey everybody, you don't know what we're talking about that. Constant edit and looking up at the camera and jumping at the camera and stuff, and just, hey everybody, here's what it is. Now check this out. This happened to me, or this is a thing, and see what kind of comes from it. But they wanted something authentic, and that's what I'm kind of trying to do. But
yeah, you're also gifted in the fact that you are a professional voiceover guy, and you know how to speak, which is really good.
Thank you.
You've got good cadence, and you have a snappy repartee. So I know you're talking to no one, but it works.
I hope
good luck with it, man. I'm enjoying it, even though I'm the last guy who needs your opinion on things because I've heard it. But I mean, I still watch it and go,
that's the comment you leave.
I know.
Because I talk to him all the time, so I'm not sure who.
Actually, I don't need this. Yeah.
Thumbs up, though. Thumbs up.
But thumbs up, but I don't know who this is for.
Look, Brian, stop leaving comments. It's not what I meant when I said please leave a comment, for God's sake.
In 2009, you said something different regarding.
No, every one of yours is like, we covered this in one of our podcasts.
Yeah.
Every comment is, yeah, this was good, but by the way, we covered this in one of our podcasts. I
flirted with one of those and thought, no, you got to get the momentum going before you're being a knob. So I just passed on sending something kind of snarky.
That'll come. There'll be plenty of time for that if this keeps going. So now's the time for me to say to everybody who listens and who's loved the show and loved what we've done, and I would never sort of cash this thing in, but I'd love everyone to check this show out. It's on the Entertainment Earth YouTube channel. It's called Plastic Soul. I think we've already had about 15 or 16 that have gone up already. I'm well ahead in the shooting of these and writing of them and stuff, but they're evergreens. They're not they're not really timed to this movie that's going to come out or this item that just hit or something. It's just kind of
and the nice thing I like about them is you're not trying to tie it in to a deal at Entertainment Earth or anything like that. You're just speaking about stuff you love.
Yeah, pretty much. In fact, that was one of the things that I would sort of get hung up on, was whether, if I talk about this thing, is there something on the site that whatever. But then the brief is just kind of talk about whatever you want. You just go anywhere you want. But I do, like I did one about the Marvel, the little 4-inch Marvel figures that I love. Those new.
Yeah, those are cool.
But I start with the Fleetwood stamp sets, which I still have mine in a little gold box that has the little.
I've never received any letters from you with Fleetwood stamps on them.
Well, see, the thing is, I have the little booklet that you put stamps in as well. And I found this, and I took some pictures, and it's got, one, like for the Hulk, I drew like Bruce Banner changing into the Hulk, and Thor, I drew a little hammer. But there's one that's like Silver Surfer fighting Human Torch, and there's another one where Spidey's fighting Captain America. So I open with these and then riff on. It seems like Marvel might have gotten into my box of precious things and found the notebook, because they clearly storyboarded off of my ideas, blah blah. Mm-hmm. And then make your way around to the Marvel figures, and then and of course they're all up for order on on Entertainment Earth. But that's about the extent of it. It's not, and also they sort of didn't want the, here's the new blah blah, a pop vinyl or the new figure of whatever, and it's going to hit Friday, but check it out, it's got wings and it's got a face and it moves, because once that's sort of out there, it's out there. Like, everybody's kind of doing the same thing. So in theory, this should be something different and cool for people to check out. And if you enjoy listening to me and us, you might enjoy listening and seeing my ugly mug in these things. You never know, but I'd love it if everybody could check it out and, leave some nice comments or like them or subscribe or just fall in love with me. And any one of the above would be great. We'd appreciate it.
I've added Plastic Soul as a weekly feature in the Miga Museum newsletter as well.
Oh, fantastic. That's great. I'll take all the help I can get. And I promise not to keep harping on this in future episodes, but I thought I've waited a long time to even talk about it because I wanted it to sort of get moving before I, talked about it before the first one went up. I thought I'd wait and get a rhythm going.
Yeah, it makes sense. You want a few out there.
Yeah. So there's the plug. So I hope you all dig it.
So I guess we should tell everyone the topic.
Oh, I thought that was it. I thought we were just going to talk about me this episode. Is this when are we going to do an episode about me? Is that ever going to happen?
All about Jason? That's coming up. That's episode 138.
A very special episode of Pod Stallions.
You lucky people.
We need to talk about Jason.
Yeah.
How do you solve a problem like Jason?
I've assembled everyone here today. No,
what is the topic? I wish you'd stop. You know what I wish? I wish
just
once you could get through an episode and stay on topic. Like we're all over the place already.
It's not my fault. I don't think I've ever stayed on topic anywhere ever. I actually was
topic or boring
auditioning for something that I can't talk about, and I went off topic, and they did not find it delightful.
I'm hoping it was La Cage aux Folles. Is it the
It was. Yeah, damn it.
Shit. Should have kept that quiet.
Yeah.
It's
just terrible, but
when you've got a surplus of information in your brain and, it tends to go all over the place. This is what you get. 102 episodes, and I'm not sure we've ever completely stayed on topic. I think we pride ourselves. That should be the T-shirt. Pod Stallions. We never stay on topic.
Our show itinerary would look like one of those family circuses where it says, "Let's follow Billy," and it's just.
Yeah. You got to keep up with us, man. You got to keep up. What is the topic today? I've even forgot what the topic was.
The topic is Doctor Who magazine.
That's right.
But we're also just going to talk about UK, science fiction publications that influenced us as, little shavers.
Yeah.
And I want to know, because I have a very specific story, but I would like to know when you first discovered Doctor Who monthly, because I don't think either of us knew about it when it started as a weekly in the late 1970s.
Yes.
Created by a guy by the name of Des Skin for Marvel. Yep. And Des Skin is one of those really influential guys that no one really talks about anymore, but he had a huge impact on the British comic industry.
Oh my God, legendary. His pitch to Doctor Who, the BBC, is legendary. Follow him on Twitter if you don't, because he's great stories and really, in a way, I was just telling you, I saw the first rough cut is done of the Star Wars holiday special documentary, which is called A Disturbance in the Force. And there's a great section there where we talk about Charlie Lippincott and how important Lippincott was to getting Star Wars out there. And, working with Fox and Lucasfilm, et cetera, and like taking Mark Hamill to Comic-Con in 76 and getting, Howard Chaykin to the poster and the Mark Hamill thing. But there's so many little moments that he was part of that you can go, if that didn't happen, like if he didn't get that ball rolling or change the way studios thought about promoting things, there's so much we wouldn't have had at the time. And Des Skin came to the BBC with this idea. I mean, they just didn't think that way. At that point, merchandise was, a yearly annual, maybe some candy.
Yeah.
The Dennis Fisher stuff had hit, but there wasn't a ton of, merchandise other than print. And I think even up to Tom Baker was sort of, like TV comic and things like that. It was where it would show up.
I remember a particular comment Des Skin made saying that at this point, they were just taking Pertwee stories and drawing Tom Baker's face over them.
They were. I've seen them. It's incredible. They just drew Baker's face over the the Pertwee stuff. But was it TV comic? Was that what it was in?
I can't remember. It wasn't Countdown.
It wasn't Countdown.
Maybe it was Countdown did have it for a while. I've lost track of how.
Well, there was never like, for as popular as the show was, it never had something official like that, like an official comic book or had the merchandise. But the BBC was always notoriously terrible at marketing this thing and making merchandise. And he launched the weekly. There's great images out there of the dummy copy, the dummy issue that he made of it. And they launched it, and they managed to get Tom Baker as well for the launch, and he'd show up at different events and stuff. But I didn't know. I can tell you exactly when I knew this thing existed. It was a friend of my cousin David, who we've talked about many times. Mm-hmm. I couldn't tell you the kid's name to save my life, but I remember him just being kind of like, you know, what you would have called at the time, like, that dude's a spaz, man. He never stops. He's always bouncing. He's always talking. And he was just this hyper kind of kid, you know, that my cousin David realized that both of us were watching the same show. We both knew Doctor Who, and he stuck me on the phone with him once. He said, well, here, talk to my friend.
I remember having to do that.
It was something like that. And he gave the phone to the dude, and the kid just started, I know, you like Doctor Who? I like Doctor Who. How long, dude? Who's your favorite? Did you watch it? And at some point in the conversation, I'm just like, first up, I'm just kind of stunned on the other end of the phone as a 11-year-old or whatever, that I'm talking to another human that knows this show. He might have been the only other person. My cousin David watched it too, because I would tell him to watch it, and he'd make fun of it. But nobody watched it that I knew. So this kid knew it. But at some point in the conversation, he started throwing me information, and I'm going, I'm not sure how do you know that? You know, where did you hear that? Like, how did you know that for sure? And he might have been the kid that started talking about toys. I might have said something like, I wish there were toys. I wish there was something. And it's like, oh, there was.
No way.
What are you talking about? And he started talking about this magazine called Doctor Who Monthly. It was Doctor Who Monthly at the time. And it was like, my brain just kind of exploded. Like, what? Because, you know, Starlog, we were getting Starlog every month. And I think at that point, I may have found Fantasy Empire. That wasn't a magazine that existed at the time. Fangoria, I would pick up now and then.
What was the British Starlog? Was it called Starblast? Starburst. Yeah, okay. I remember getting a Starburst annual on clearance. That was not very good.
Yeah, and they brought it back. They brought it back like 10, 12 years ago. It kind of came back for a while. It was like a thicker magazine. It was pretty good. But he told me about this, and I said, I've never seen this magazine. Where would you find this? What are you talking about? And I remember him saying, well, you have to go to Schindler's. And Schindler's was a chain. There was only like 3 or 4 locations. That was a newsstand, but like not a newsstand like out front with an awning, you know, a little store that you'd go into that maybe had sodas and things like that. But it was mainly magazines and newspapers from all over. And then, of course, as you headed toward the back, got very adult. It was a huge adult section.
Sounds like a place to get a Marble Rye at.
Most people that would hear the word Schindler's, especially back then, you're not going. I'm not taking you to Schindler's. What are you talking about?
Smut, eh?
And so I don't know how I got a ride, or got my dad or my brother or someone to take me, because the closest Schindler's was downtown St. Paul, which was seedy back then. It's kind of can be seedy now, but it was really seedy back then. And I remember looking at the where the sort of TV and Starlog type things would be, and I found they had 2 copies, and I think it was the issue. It had Turlo on the front, so it must have been 83. And of course, but the thing is, very much like the first trip that I had to London, where I didn't know who Peter Davison was.
Right.
When I got the sutured Easter egg, chocolate egg.
Yeah, my story's very similar to yours. I'm glad you brought that up.
I remember looking at this dude in the doorway going, "Oh, they must make a children's version of the show, like a Saturday morning version of Doctor Who."
Because clearly an adult wouldn't dress like this.
Because who would dress? It's exactly how I thought it. There must have been dressing. Because here's the thing: when I think about it now, I don't, because what happened was that was at Madame Tussauds. We went to Madame Tussauds, came around the corner, just as I'm getting despondent because there's no Doctor Who merchandise anywhere in London. We come around the corner, and there's Tom Baker leaning against the TARDIS with K9. And of course, that's right when I ran out of film, and you couldn't go back to the front to get film. So when I went in, it was that display that they had up in '81 that was, I think he was the first person to be in Madame Tussauds twice at the same time. So Baker was in at the front, and then when you went into this special room that was all Doctor Who, it had him as Meglos. So he was in there twice. And I think it had a Dalek and maybe a Cyberman, and someone has the information. I'm sure the photos are out there. Came out the other side and couldn't wait to get to the gift shop because that's where the Doctor Who stuff's going to be. And all they had was this Easter egg. So I think even when I looked at the logo, I didn't recognize the logo on that trip because the last season of Baker had not aired in America yet, which brings up an interesting thing about the magazine. And then I'm going to throw it to you. Getting this issue with Turlo, we would get the magazine and we would be getting information out of it that we wouldn't see in shows for another year.
Years, actually.
Maybe longer. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
Right. So
I
didn't know who he was. I knew who Davison was at that point, but I had no idea who Turlo was. But I think that might have been my first issue. But over to you, Brian. What was your first?
My first issue. This is a weird story. My dad liked to gamble, and I believe, and he didn't. He was amazingly good at it, but he didn't do it. And he would gamble with us. And he'd get really we'd play backgammon for money, and we never had to pay if we lost.
Mm-hmm.
Just this I'll give you $2 if you win. I'll give you another $2 if you win. He'd do that. He was addicted, but he was not going to casinos or ever doing that sort of thing. So This one day, I'd say it was probably summer of '83. So I'm 12, and he goes, if you win this next game, I'll do whatever you want on Saturday. And I was like, I don't know. I don't want to play anymore. And he said, look, what do you want to do? And I go, well, I want to go down to a comic book store and have pizza at Frankfurtier's. And he's like, done. And I want to bring a friend. Done. And I won. So he had to drive me downtown Toronto to the Silver Snail, which was on Queen Street, and Queen Street was magical and electric in the early '80s. He had taken me there once before, and now I just, he opened the genie, and I wanted to go all the time.
Wait, Brian, did you take me down Queen Street?
No, because it wasn't there anymore.
Oh, okay. Because I remember you taking me down one street, and you said this was vibrant in the '80s.
That was the annex. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Go ahead. Sorry.
So, you went to the Silver Snail actually on your own. It was a shell of itself. Or you asked me about it. Anyways.
Okay.
So that's where I found it. I found Doctor Who magazine number 73. And I had no idea they had a Doctor Who magazine. And I think it had just switched to monthly a year or so back. So that 73 was, I think they did a whole year of weekly. And the thing that blew me away was it was Peter Davison on the cover sitting with Tegan, who I didn't even think I knew then because I'm not sure we'd even seen these episodes yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew the Doctor regenerated. Unlike you, I had seen Pertwee turn into Baker, and I'd seen bits of the Three Doctors, and so I understood the concept. And I think it was in the it was also mentioned in the Marvel premiere, which came out '82.
The one, with Baker on the cover with the long scarf, and it was a
I love that Walt Simonson cover. Yeah,
cover, so great. So that was what, 81, 82 was it?
I think it was 82.
And they did 4 issues, right?
Yeah, they did 4 issues, and those were the first 4 comic stories from Doctor Who Monthly.
From Doctor Who,
and they're excellent. They're actually my favorite Doctor Who comic of all time.
It was the Iron Legion, right?
Iron Legion, awesome. And then the one I can't remember the name of it, but it's about the planet where there's no emotions.
Yeah, yes, that's right.
Yeah, excellent stories, fun stories, little dark.
Drawn by the great Dave Gibbons. drew those issues. Yeah.
And so I grabbed this with both hands because there was something, and this is influenced Toy Ventures magazine, the words free sticker inside. And I'm very proud to say I still have this sticker of a grinning Peter Davison.
It is, which is also, I believe, a Dave Gibbons drawing.
It's
like a two-color sticker, right?
Yeah. It's black, white, and red. So
that's right. Yep, I had that too. I had it because we'll get to back issues in a minute, but that was your first issue, and you got the sticker. Wow.
And I can, my takeaways from that magazine, and it might still be here in the house, but was, it was we were still, I think, at that time in the Graham Williams era on TVO. So we were, just, I think that next year, so I was going into like the 8th grade, we would start to get the J&T stuff. And at first I was extremely excited about it. It felt like it was breathing new life into the franchise, and it was speaking definitely to a more, mature 13-year-old, who's a little tired of being dogged about the show's special effects by his friends and, that sort of thing. So I was all for it, and I was very excited. But the one takeaway I remember was there was an ad that the next issue of Blake 7 magazine will give away a button that says "Save Blake 7."
Oh.
And I think I went through all the range of like, wait, there's a Blake 7 magazine? Wait, Blake 7's been canceled? What's Blake 7? I just went through all of that.
Sure. How could you possibly I mean, it was what I remember about it too, and this kind of goes along with everything that Doctor Who was to us at the time, and I always sort of associated with is, of course it wasn't like a real magazine. I mean, it was a real magazine, but it only had a glossy cover and back.
It was mainly black and white inside, right?
It was black and white, and it was newspaper print. I never held a magazine that was like that, and it was super thin, and the writing was tiny, and not all the photos were captioned, I don't know how long after that issue, because see, with the two that are how this goes together is that first issue. I think there were maybe 2 or 3 times where I went back. Well, I would go to Schindler's then to get it every month, but of course it opened this doorway to like, okay, this is issue whatever number. I need to know more about this, which then led me to the British mail order company that I've talked about many times on the show, Star Something. Not Star Tech, but Star Something, where, as again, I've said many times, if you sent cash, you got like a 30% discount on this stuff. And these catalogs would show up in the mailbox, like in the middle of winter. And it was basically, long sheets of paper, and the whole thing was folded in half, like stapled. And I mean, we're talking photocopied, like you can barely, they would just stick things up in the upper edge that couldn't quite fit. And like you'd see Jelly Babies written sideways on one thing for, $3.99 or, whatever. And there was no order form. You just grabbed a piece of paper and wrote out the order form. But every time I ordered, nothing ever went missing. I never didn't get my package. I always sent cash. And so I would put cash in an envelope and then tape coins. Rather than just send like an extra $1, I would do the coins like an idiot. I was a kid, and I would tape the coins to a little index card, stick it in an envelope, stick that inside the envelope, extra postage, et cetera, sent cash, and always got my stuff. Every now and then they'd send a note, we were missing issue, whatever, here's your refund, or you've got this much credit or something. In this catalog, they had all of the original Doctor Who weekly issues that you could back order, and all the monthlies. But what really turned me on as I got into this magazine, so now we're talking 83, 84, 85, was the specials. I became obsessed with getting the summer and winter specials, because there was no equivalent that I could think of to the magazines we were reading. I mean, there was, the Starlog scrapbooks, but I thought, oh, this is like a best of, and they would sometimes come with a free thing. The thing is, I always associate that magazine too with these UK magazines that come with a free gift on the front or inside, and over the course of, because we have to say, I could be getting this statistic wrong, Doctor Who Monthly, which then became Doctor Who Magazine, I believe is the longest running tie-in magazine in history. Like, it has never stopped in all.
I was going to get into that. It actually kind of, I think, kept Doctor Who alive.
Oh, totally. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, whoever was, still out there hoping for it, or whatever the fan base was. Absolutely. But it was, there weren't a lot of little extra, little doodads that kind of came with the magazine. I found them in many other types of magazines, which we'll talk about. But really, I think the first 2 issues of Weekly came with the rub down transfer, right? Is it
Yeah, and in fact, I am desperately trying to find a factory that will make rub down transfers so I can do my own Pod Stallions ones.
Which just makes, complete sense. Do you remember the first time? I remember the first time seeing like an issue of, maybe it was 2000 AD or like a Dan Dare type thing in the mid 80s. It's, again, at one of these newsstand type places that had, and they would even do it with like copies of smash hits. When I would go to record stores to find imports and stuff, they would have a few issues of smash hits from 86 or whatever. And it was like, swing out sister bracelet, or like a little, they tape on a level 42 comb or something. And it was taped onto the front of the magazine. I always thought, don't people just rip these off the magazine? But no, there they were. And it became, they eventually, that kids Doctor Who magazine they did once the show came back. I was, how obsessed I was with little premiums that would come with it. But that was it wasn't that common in the magazine. But there was one of the specials that came with a pull-out monster guide. Do you remember that?
I don't think I had that one.
So, and the cover of it was what was the creature from Nightmare of Eden? Those like drug creatures.
Oh God! If you just had they're terror. I hate Nightmare of Eden.
Terrible show.
I can remember the drug that they were made into. The Grell? No. Oh man. Raxasoin was the drug. Boy, I hate that era.
Or just when you could totally see like the masking tape holding the sex.
In fact, I think there's even a scene in Nightmare of Eden where somebody shoots a panel and it blows up before the laser beam hits it, and it's like, that's a post effect. Like, why did that get screwed up? Like,
would you remember like Horns of Nimon?
Oh, my favorite. Yes.
I remember because I'm a kid and I'm waiting for the creature to show
Mandrels, by the way. Mandrel sisters.
Mandrel sisters. Barbara Mandrell. Mandrell was on the cover of the Doctor Who Pull-Out Monster Guide. I would sort of hope for a monster or a creature or some kind of spooky villain, not like Stones of Blood kind of creatures, like an actual creature.
Or a cabbage from what's it? Horror Fang Rock.
But that's Hall of Fame compared to the ball bag that's in Creature from the Pit, which is, there is no amount of making.
The Creature from the Pit, when his ship leaves the hole, it's like, did you hire a grade school to do this? Like it is.
But there's from the drawing board, how, because people like the Matt Irvine always say, well, we didn't have a lot of money for the thing, so this is how.
and he did amazing things.
Things. But when you look at some of it, you go, look, maybe it would have been better if you just not bothered or made it an invisible monster or something. But when I saw Horns of Nimon, when I saw the Nimon guys, even as a kid, I thought, oh, this is like symbolic. Like this is a character within the show symbolically doing like a pantomime version of what the creature is or something.
Because I always loved the High Priest in that one.
Oh, he almost became the Doctor. He was up. I think they were talking about him after Pertwee was what's his name? Shit.
No, I don't think it's shit.
No, he was in a lot of Lindsay Anderson films. He was in Anya Hospital.
So chewing.
Oh, he's
the scenery.
Wonderful. I'm going to think of his name. Clive, or not Clive. It's going to come to me, but I think he was considered after Pertwee. Like,
really?
Yes.
I think I've heard that too. Yeah, there was a lot of weird. They were going to make him an old guy for a lot. Like,
yeah. But the Nimon thing is like a badly done bullhead with light up horns, and then it's a guy.
I was there.
A guy.
Graham Crowden, I think his name was.
What was it?
Graham Crowden?
Graham Crowden, yes. And I know he was in Britannia Hospital. He might have been in Oh Lucky Man. I think he made a lot of films with Lindsay Anderson. The trilogy that Lindsay Anderson did with Malcolm McDowell, like If, Oh Lucky Man, Britannia Hospital. I think he was in all three.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I actually like those films.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh Lucky Man is fantastic. Yeah. If is genius. But so this little monster guy was a pull-out monster guy, and then you folded it into like fourths. And it was just so exciting because it was, we were so similar in so many ways about this stuff, Brian, because we just were so desperate to have some kind of merchandise for this show.
Yeah.
And there was nothing. There just was nothing. And so that catalog again is synonymous with the magazine, because that's where I started to pick up all my back issues was from that British company. And
yeah, I think my first thing I ever mail ordered was from the Starlog, but it was a Doctor Who magazine, the Radio Time special, and I ordered that from Geppi's Comic World. Mm-hmm. And I remember I overpaid, and Steve Geppi sent me a check for 50 cents, which I had no way of cashing. But it's weird that the president of Diamond Comics once sent me a check for 50 cents.
That'd be worth something someday.
Well, I could put it in my Cayman Island offshore holding account.
Probably worth a fortune now. Yeah. The very first thing I ever mailed away for, again, it's funny because I picked up, I do occasionally still pick up the magazine. I just picked up, I got to tell you this, because I just picked up the newest issue that ties into the Sea Devils episode they just did.
Oh.
But what's cool about it is it comes with a free extra book. Do you remember the Target range that came out called Doctor Who Discovers the Dinosaurs or Doctor
Who? Yeah, I didn't buy those.
So they did 4 of them, I think. I managed to track down 3 of them from hippie bookstores in the Twin Cities, or maybe mail order, whatever I sort of find these things in sci-fi bookstores. There was a 5th that never happened, called Doctor Who Discovers the Pirates, or Explores Pirates, or Becomes a Pirate, or something. and Target dropped the line, and it was done, and that was it. But for this commemorative issue, it turns out they found out that the manuscript existed. The guy who wrote them, his widow had the manuscript of the Pirates one, and so they published it. It's the extra booklet that comes with this. It's the one that got canceled way back in 1978 or whatever it was, and they even got the original artist who did the covers back then to do the new cover of this Doctor Who Discovers book, Tom Baker.
Wow.
Yeah, and I just got chills. And then I would go on to find out he did a lot of the covers of a lot of the Target books. The main artists were was it Chris
Achilleos? Yeah.
Achilleos. And then this dude. And then I find out he also did the gatefold of the live album Wings Over America.
Wow.
I used to stare at this painting. I would stare at of the musicians on stage, Paul and Linda and everybody, the same artist. So they do premiums now and then that they still do, but they'll do these great commemorative issues of like 1976 or 1983, and there's a whole section on merchandise. There's a whole section on the Target range, a whole section on Longleat, or these things that happened at the time. And they're really thorough about just, the history of the magazine and how long they've been doing, what issues were coming out and what kind of stories were in the issues and things like that. And they're just terrific. I mean, it really is going back in time, looking at these things to learn about the year that.
Yeah, I haven't bought it in years. The last time I bought it was I think you told me about it. it was, you said you got to read Doctor Who Monthly this month. Peter Davison is just out of F's to give.
Oh, that's right. It was toward
and
it was toward the 50th. Yeah.
Yeah, and then or maybe I bought it on your recommendation, but there was a point where I was recovering from a surgery and I bought a stack of them, and the ones I remember the best were, Peter Davison, and then there was a really great interview with Terrence Dicks. And Terrence Dicks was just such a mercurial soul,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a really fun read. And he said he revealed stuff that was like, basically his father didn't respect him.
Oh.
Yeah, they just didn't understand like the work he was doing. Like his dad thought you went to a factory and get a job,
Mm-hmm.
write books. I don't know how to
Yeah.
explain it.
Did you ever get did you ever get any of the Blu-ray sets, the season sets?
I struggled with that because you can't I mainly buy Blu-rays of shitty grindhouse movies to watch them in, as they were originally intended, not in terrible shape.
Right.
But there's only so much resolution you can put on, on old videotape.
Yeah.
And also, I've never been terribly fond of the new effects they try to do. Some of them are good and some of them are bad.
Yeah.
To the credit of the BBC, unlike Paramount, you can watch them as is, which I really appreciate.
Yeah.
But I bought the first Tom Baker one because it was on sale, and that is to me the perfect season of Doctor Who.
Oh my God.
And I devoured the extras.
Oh, that's the thing. Like, part of it is some of them like I already owned, and then some stories I never bothered to get, and then some I'm the whole season I'm repeating. But it's mainly for the extras. It's mainly for the I don't love the behind the sofa stuff, but it is kind of fun to see certain people together. But one of them, and I think it might be that 75 one, the Baker one, or one of them. They do a documentary on Terrence Dicks.
I'd love to watch that.
They do a roundtable appreciation with all these writers, all these people that have either written for the show or written paperbacks adaptations for the show. And they just spend an hour and change talking about, Paul Cornell is in there talking about how without Terrence Dicks and his writing, it taught him so much about writing and how to tell a story, and the little bits that that he would sort of embellish that weren't in the script and weren't on screen, and how much further Dicks would go with it. But he was always in the magazine. He would always show up in every few issues in Doctor Who Monthly and stuff. And it just was, it was one of those things that I kept going with the show. You said something interesting where you said, come on, it's going to breathe new life. Now you pick up every issue, and then, you're going to, because must have been the same for you. If you got an issue and read about these new stories, you weren't going to actually see the story for like another
year. Like that. I bought that magazine in 1983, in the summer of 1983. I was 12. I would not see Four to Doomsday and Castrovalva till the winter of 1985.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which was really conflicting, because you're getting plot points and you're hearing about things, and the letters page of people.
I remember eventually, I would say within a year of that discovery, a local comic book store was able to order Doctor Who Monthly for me. And in fact, it was my first and last thing of opening a file and then stop buying shit and eventually getting that file closed on me. It was a very harsh lesson. I did make it up because that guy still owns a comic store to this day, and he's a good friend, and he trained me in martial arts and all this other stuff. But yeah, I'm glad he's forgiven me for welching on that. But I would buy it every month.
Yeah.
Until I didn't, because for me, and it's my journey, but The Davison era was a slog for me. There was a lot of good stuff about it and a lot of really terrible stuff about it.
Yeah.
And I think I personally peaked in the 83, the Five Doctors era, because I think the Five Doctors was actually shown that year, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, no, it was actually it's still a bone of contention, because in that 83 issue, they talk about it. That aired in America a day or two before it aired in the UK.
Oh, okay. So I did catch it
Or
current.
it was either that or we got it. No, I take it back. I'm sorry. I take it back. We got the paperback.
Oh.
America somehow got the Target novelization before the UK did, I think. If that's what it was one of the two. But they still talk about it like, how on earth could America? Because it was just when things were opening up with America. So I remember that special airing at the right time, So maybe by 83, 84, there wasn't such a gap between when we got the shows. See, that's all very fuzzy to me. I just remember the regeneration. I remember just being gutted when Baker was off the show. My brain couldn't take it. I didn't understand what was going on. And then I was just sort of, I don't care. Why would I care? And I was very begrudgingly sort of got into the Davison stuff just to have the show back, maybe in hopes that somehow Tom Baker was going to change his mind or come back or something.
But I saw that Remington Steele and you went, oh no, it's over.
Well, that's right there. Yeah, it is. It's when that's right about the time I joined the Doctor Who Appreciation. No, the Doctor Who Appreciation Society of America. No, the North American.
I was Doctor Who Information Network.
Yes, this was the Doctor Who Appreciation Society was the first fan club in the UK. I was in the North American branch, which was the North American Doctor Who Appreciation Society, which was NADWAS. That's what it went by. I still have my little ID card somewhere, but it was a 5-page newsletter.
That'll get you laid all over town.
It was a 5-page newsletter stapled together. But then the Doctor Who Fan Club of America, that's right around.
Yeah, that was a glossy bunch of nothing.
That was like they really kicked it up.
Oh yeah, full color print.
Color print, bunch of merchandise, pins, scarf, balsa wood model.
Yeah, the balsa wood homunculus
the TARDIS, the stuffed canine. But that was when I'd see it and go, this is okay. Here's the other thing. This makes me think.
We're mainstream now, baby.
Yeah, well, you go, well, why did it take so long to do things like this? I remember in the magazine, an item of news in the magazine was the brand new, be sure to look for the brand new Doctor Who prismatic buttons.
Oh, yeah.
One is the logo and one is of the Cybermen head.
They never showed those on the PBS.
And it was like, but that was an article in the magazine, like 2 buttons are about to come out. Stop the presses, like
Mike is being dropped here, people.
there was I remember the back page of an issue or two that had the Cybermen holding up or wearing the Davison t-shirt. Remember that Davison t-shirt?
Yeah.
But I mean, that was it. That was advertised in the magazine. Oh, this has made me think of the issue, this big special issue from 83 that I found that the magazine put out. Was I want to say Suzanne Moore or somebody Moore or someone. There was some woman in America, this all makes sense now, who got some kind of a license with the BBC, and she started making these calendars. And they were, just photos. It was Baker, Davison, maybe a Pertwee picture, a Trout.
Adric, 1984.
But it was like the first official Doctor Who calendar that had come out. Like the BBC had never done it in the UK, and this woman got the license. So she had those. She made a button, which I still have, it was just Tom Baker, like from the opening credits. It's one of my favorite things.
Is it one of those square ones?
No, it was round.
Okay.
But she got the button, and then she started to import the TARDIS tin, the Tom Baker TARDIS tin.
Yeah, I had the Davison one because I couldn't stand that Tom's body was drawn.
She must have sold those by the truckload because she was the only person that had them. And that was the very first thing I think I ever ordered was that tin. I don't know where I saw the ad, but I mailed away for it. And it was that was like.
I bought one too, so obviously I saw the ad too. I don't remember where.
Well, yeah. So I don't know when I got the Davison one, but I got the Baker one. Like must have been 82 or so, maybe something like that.
I got mine. My Davison one I must have gotten in '84.
And it was, for me, that was like the Millennium Falcon Kenner toy, because that was it. That was the only friggin' toy. And that's another thing I think of the magazine for, is when the kid said, "Oh, there were toys that were made." I'm like, bullshit, there were toys. What are you talking? And he says he saw them in Doctor Who magazine. Well, when you'd get this British catalog, tiny, tiny little print that would tell you which issue was what, and it would sort of list 5 or 6 things that were in the issue. And I remember this particular issue that said Doctor Who merchandise guide in the, it was in the magazine, and I mailed away for that. And that was the first time I'd seen photos of Doctor Who merchandise. Like it was like a 6-page spread, grainy black and white photos.
Yeah.
A group shot of the Dennis Fisher stuff, and here's a talking Dalek and whatever. And
I went insane in 8th grade because I saw the Tom Baker doll sitting in a black and white photo in the magazine, like in the background. And I was like, I have to have that.
Well, see, I remember, okay, this is going to be weird. You just talked about the 83 Radio Times special.
Yeah.
There's a photo in there of John Nathan Turner.
That's where I saw it. It's behind John Nathan Turner. He has a Cyberman.
John Nathan Turner in that picture. I think there's him and Leela, I think, maybe figures are in that photo. And there were a couple other things in there that went, oh, what's that piece of merchandise? Maybe there's a Dalek in there or something. But I remember the Tom Baker was in there. And then in 84, there's a special issue that came out that was just dedicated to merchandise. And it was right around the time when, the 2 big things that came out that year, Jesus, there was an interview with the BBC licensing guy, and the magazine interviewer was taking the angle of like, why don't you make more Doctor Who merchandise? Millions of people watch this show. Well, we'd have to have a very good reason. And let me tell you what we've got coming up. And they had those, was it Royal Dalton made those plates?
Yay, plates.
Commemorative frickin' plates. That was their big push for 84. It was the annual and some plates. And then there was a woman that was going to be doing resin statues. Oh, and of course, lest we forget, fine art castings and their little lead figures that hit in 83 or 84, which was like having an action figure line, because I ordered a bunch of those. I still have Tom Baker somewhere.
I didn't like the proportions on them.
I didn't either, but we didn't have we didn't have choice. I mean, they were.
Hey, look, I accepted the Daypole Tom Baker action figure in 1988 or whatever they came out with. It's not Doctor Who. That's just a Tom Baker action figure.
Those are works of art compared to the little fine which were they had little ones, and then they had like 3 or 4 inch scale. They also had a set of busts that they advertised in Doctor Who Monthly, the 6 Doctors, which were really nicely done little busts. And then the gaming company in America did those little tiny ones. Was it FASA?
Yeah, I remember FASA, yeah.
They made sets of figures in little TARDIS boxes, and I would get those, and I still have the ones I painted in my case.
You just brought up a wonderful memory that I took Amigo, Davy Crockett, because it was the only thing I could find that kind of looked like Tom Baker, and I asked my grandmother to make a coat, and I don't know how I made a little scarf for him, but I had a Doctor Who doll. That's probably the first custom Amigo I made.
That's fantastic.
It was horrible.
But look, I mean, you'd also find in the back of the magazine pen pals, and I became friends with a couple of people one was in Italy, I think, and one was in the UK, and I've told you several times about the UK guy that cut me off once he knew how old I was. He stopped. Suddenly the letters just stopped. Because this poor guy probably thought I was a grown man writing chicken scratch. for 2 years. I mean, he sent me so much stuff, annuals and postcards, and without asking, all of a sudden a package would show up. And then one day I was like, tell me more about yourself. I like these movies. What movies do you like? No, actually, I asked him, after writing to you for so long, I wish I had these letters. I'd love to know what he was saying to me. But I was like, tell me more about, what else? I'd love to know more about you. Just now that we're friends. And he wrote a letter back and gave all these favorite movies and favorite shows. And I disliked the Smurfs and all these things. And then I wrote back and then like the next letter didn't come for months, months. And then finally I got a letter and it was very brief, very cordial. But I immediately thought, uh-oh. It's not going to write to me because I'm 13 or 14.
Yeah.
But he sent me a lot of stuff. But you had the fine art casting stuff, which was a big deal. And the other thing that made me think of you the other day, and I can't believe I found this. Do you remember, and this was big news in the magazine. This was big news in the magazine. And by God, I ordered one. And it sat in the box until I got rid of it and I sold it. Do you remember the company called Sevens that made the Dalek model kit?
Yeah, they made Davros. I remember the Sevens. Yeah.
They started just with the Dalek, and they couldn't keep up with the orders. They got so many orders, but it was vacuum formed, and I had no idea how to build this kind of model kit. And it came in a cardboard box with a sticker on the front that had a photo of this beautiful looking Dalek model. And then eventually, I think he did an Ice Warrior and a Davros and whatever else. But it was like they called the Dalek construction kit. It was this huge deal that this thing was going to get made because it was, my God, the BBC licensed it for something other than a book or something. And it cost a fortune to get it. But I just came across on YouTube a Blue Peter story of this young man named Stuart Evans who makes his own Dalek model kits. And he's here to show us what he does with them. And, he's got a whole big set built where they've got explosives going off and a couple guys are, under the thing, pumping ooze out or something or using a battery to make the thing move and whatever. And I'm like, that's the guy. That's the guy that approached the BBC to get a license, and they gave him a license. I mean, they were so backwards in everything they did. And then the Daypole stuff was in the magazine too. That was like, front page news, like Doctor Who's getting toys after 140 years.
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention about the magazine, and we kind of glossed over it, but that issue that I got, my first issue, introduced me to one of my favorite recurring comic strip characters in that magazine, which was Shade.
Shade? Was Shade like a detective or something?
Shade was a Time Lord, and he had a black outfit and a bulb on his head, like he worked for the Gallifreyans. And he was this was the issue he was introduced in, I think. And basically what it was the TARDIS was possessed, and he was coming in to help the Doctor, fix it before the Time Lords destroyed the TARDIS. And it was actually, I didn't really love a lot of the Gibbons Baker run. I found it silly. The first two issues are really good, but then they added that companion, and I remember Marvel reprinted all those, and I was never really a big fan. But I love when it hit its stride with Davison, and even though I'm no fan of the Colin Baker era, those comics are great.
Well, is that the one?
Frobisher?
Yeah, we should talk about the comic because that was correct me if I'm wrong. Did Marvel first publish it as a weekly?
Yes, Marvel published it until I think 95, and then Panini took over.
So it had a comic strip in the first weekly issues would have one strip with the Doctor and then a backup story that was like chapter 1 of the War of the Worlds.
Oh yeah, or Absum Dak. Yeah.
Dak became a thing, and I
liked those.
And I remember the Davison ones. One of the first Davison ones I remember was him alone on an island, like fishing with his toe, and there was like a Japanese soldier that was on the island that must have crashed or something, and they become friendly, like a British bomber is coming overhead or something, and whatever, and he dies at the end of the strip, and I thought, that was like the first comic book type thing I think I'd read of Doctor Who, but it was fascinating that there was a comic strip in this thing. I mean, it was a whole new world because I didn't know that it had ever been anything. You know, it was just there was no information. But the comic strip was pretty good, and the Colin, because I still got it up until probably about 85, maybe, fairly regularly or so, and then I was just too busy with all the girls to keep up with.
Well, I think I just burned out, and I was more interested in music and film and all these other things. And I really wasn't enjoying the Baker era. And even when I came back to the McCoy era, I never bought the magazine, and then you stopped seeing it for a while.
Yeah, I don't think I picked it up again until I got to LA many years later. Like, I think the next one I picked up was the issue that had, I mean, I just thinking this, the next issue I think I picked up, when was the TV movie? 96?
Yes.
When was the comic relief one? The one that was written by Moffat with Rowan Atkinson, and was that after the TV? It was after the TV movie, wasn't it?
It may have been, yeah.
I think the next one I picked up was Paul McGann on the cover. And that's how I found out that he was playing the Doctor. And of course, I'm a massive fan of With Nil and I. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. So I was thrilled that he's doing, oh my God, And then the next one I picked up was the comic relief cover with Rowan Atkinson on the cover. Just because Rowan Atkinson was on the cover. And then I did, that was it. And then I didn't pick it up again until Eccleston. And going over when I was in London working on a show called Bands Reunited, and was there for like 4 or 5 weeks doing the show, these other shows like ABC and Haircut 100 and stuff. They was the first issue that had Eccleston on the cover, like his pre-interview. Remember they would each Doctor would be like, Peter Davison is the Doctor, Colin Baker is that famous cover that they would get to announce.
Yeah.
It was the Eccleston one. So it was 2004 before the show came out. And I remember somebody asking me about it, and I said, I bet this is going to be huge. The show's going to be massive when it comes back. And then I would, pick it up occasionally through Eccleston and Matt Smith, and every now and then I'll
I had a weird obsession with it in the mid 90s. I think it was due to all the VHS releases and the TV movie and all this kind of momentum about Doctor Who. And I was starting to collect Doctor Who merch. And I'd say from probably 2-3 years, I was buying it all the time. And I actually remember it was the day before my wedding, or the couple of days before my wedding, and I was stuck in my wife's hometown, living in a hotel room. And they went to their comic book store, and they were just giving away back issues of Doctor Who Monthly. I think they were $1 a piece, so I bought 30 of them. And I started going through them, and I became hooked on how they had structured this magazine. It was actually really interesting. During that time, the comic book was really good. And they actually had done a controversial move around that time where they regenerated the Doctor. And it was drawn to look like a fan. It actually might have been, what's his name there? Who runs Big Finish?
Oh my gosh. Yes. He does the voice of the Daleks.
Yeah. I think it was drawn to look like him.
Oh.
And it was a really interesting, story. And then I guess I can give spoilers. It's a 25-year-old comic book, but it turns out to be Shade, which blew my mind, So I remember really liking that. They had a column in that every month that was written from a girl's perspective. And a lot of people didn't think she was real. But she was a classic Who fan, and she wrote this, little column about her life. And I remember one article where she found a Tom Baker Denny Fisher at a thrift shop and was super excited about it. And, stuff like that. I remember really, for some reason, Doctor Who is one of those things where I'm really interested in knowing the little details. And so that magazine really spoke to me at that time. But As all things, I eventually lost interest in Doctor Who again, or just forgot about it, got into other
Yeah,
things. So,
sure.
but yeah, I've come back to that magazine 3 times in my life. I have not picked it up since they basically youngified their staff. I remember reading that and thinking that's an odd choice. Like everybody was like under 25 or something like that.
Yeah, I know through the years there's been a lot of controversy about the staff and how they've handled things and who has kind of run the magazine. I can tell you, and this again, spoilers, but whatever. But when I became friendly with, oh God, Steve, whose last name is escaping me now, but I just talked about him in one of the videos. Guy who started the guy who
Enterprises.
Product Enterprise.
Yeah.
He used to work for Bluebird Toys. Remember the Bluebird little transforming Dalek playset?
Yeah, I've got one of those here.
One of the greatest Doctor Who toys ever freaking made. That was
Yeah.
all him. That was all him. So he did Product Enterprise, and we got to be friendly from Toy Fair of 2007, and eventually emails back and forth. He sent me all those great Graham Humphreys prints because he did a special art show for Graham Humphreys stuff, who did all their box art, and I sort of would drop it into in email, like, listen, I'm thinking about maybe exploring Doctor Who for a couple of things. Like, what would you think if I did, and how would I go about? And he would just write these missives about what a nightmare the BBC had been and what a nightmare the magazine is. Because I would say, you guys should be featured in the magazine nonstop. I don't know why you're not, because what you're doing with these radio-controlled Daleks and these talking Daleks, and they were doing a sonic screwdriver prop replica that was being made, and he told me about all these battles with the network, but he told me about a lot of stuff at the magazine and how political it got. And I think there was a sort of a house cleaning. People like Gary Russell, guys like that we kind of read their stuff back in the day. There was like some kind of house cleaning and it didn't go over well. So I don't know enough about it, but very cliquey, I think, the behind the scenes with that magazine. But I will pick up an occasional issue. I certainly love the big commemorative ones they've done. I got the 83 one. I've got the 76 one. They might have done one for 1963 that I didn't get because I'm just not enough of a William Russell fan, I guess, to go through that and
bite your tongue
and spend my nights with William Russell and the. But they've done other special ones too, of just like the art of Doctor Who, like these great compendiums of design work, or costumes or location ones. They do these great special issues that are really wonderful. Let me ask you this. The book Doctor Who: A Celebration by Peter Haining.
I had it. Yeah.
Did you come across it or did you hear about it in the magazine?
I heard about it in a magazine and I begged my mother to do a money order so I could order it for my birthday. That was last year.
I found a copy of Midway Books, which became the other place that I would go and get the magazine and my Target books and stuff, which was also in a seedy part of town, but which is still there. Midway Books is still there on Snelling Avenue in St. Paul. And they had 2 copies of the Celebration book. And if I'm not mistaken, in 83, it was like $25.
Yeah, it was expensive. That
was a lot of money for a book that size. But I don't know if I read about it in the magazine or not, but it was it was like the internet in a way for information and things that I wouldn't have had otherwise, way back then.
Oh yeah, and that was a wonderful time to be alive too, because of the Renaissance for Doctor Who, that 25th anniversary.
Oh yeah. Well, just the fact that it suddenly took off in America the way that it did, and it was like they did. Remember that? I found some photos. I'm embarrassed to. I'm in a couple of them, but I should scan them for you and so you can. But remember the truck that went around America?
Yeah.
With all the props and stuff. I saw that at a convention where in these photos, I've got photos of Colin Baker and Patrick Troughton sitting down to do their talk at the convention. So that must have been 86 or so, or maybe 85.
So they were talking about the 2 doctors.
Yeah, because Troughton died like a year later, I think, right?
He died at a con.
He died at a convention, yeah.
Yeah.
So the doctors that I've met Colin Baker twice, and I met Patrick Troughton, I think that's it. Is that all I've met? No, Matt Smith. I met Matt Smith
Wow.
at a BBC party at Comic-Con. I've got a picture with Matt Smith. And
You met Peter Capaldi.
oh God, what am I thinking? Of course, I met Capaldi. That's the best one, because that made its way onto the internet. Some news site had a picture of me and Peter Capaldi that I had one picture of the two of us from the front, and then I look online and I see someone put it on Facebook, like, well, look at that I just found. And so someone took the photo from a different angle, the exact moment that I got my picture. So I've got two photos with me and Peter Capaldi.
Very cool.
And of course, I slept with Sylvester McCoy, which no big secret anymore.
Oh, it's a lot to take.
How do you think he got The Hobbit?
Yeah.
I made some calls. But there you go. There's a love letter to Doctor Who Monthly, later Doctor Who Weekly, later to become Doctor Who Monthly, later to become Doctor Who Magazine, regenerating along the way, much like the character himself.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. I think it's relevant to this day, in this day and age where we're coming up on the 60th anniversary. Isn't that crazy?
Which is freaking mind-blowing. And what's the thing I just sent you? What's the because you'll know these references better than me. The article that just talked about, it seems like for the special, Davis is digging into the comic.
Yeah, I actually wanted to talk about that. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, it looks like he's digging into what would be the first story of the Marvel comics. Not the Marvel premieres, but when, I think in '83, Marvel gave Doctor Who his own monthly in the US, and it was color reprints of those comics, and there was a storyline about a cute little teddy bear type character, and the designs when they showed the what are basically the bad guys that turn out to be the good guys in that story, it's them. It's absolutely them.
Yeah.
And Davies has done that occasionally, where he seems to be dipping into the comics. There's been little things I've noticed over the years that feel like, is he a big Marvel Comics fan? Like, you just look at it, because there was a couple of stories that he did, where I kind of thought, this feels like, he took this from here. And I think that confirms it for me.
See, I never knew that.
Yeah. And I didn't get the episode name because I can't remember it, but the episode that introduces the Master again to the series, I forget the name of it. There's a thing
with John Sim.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry, with Derek Jacobi. That one.
Yeah, that one. I really felt like he was taking the villains in that are people that are regressing into like cannibals.
Oh yeah.
And there's an issue of the Doctor Who comic.
Oh yeah.
Called End of the Line. It's a really dark issue.
It's super dark. It's the Baker one. It's
Baker. And it's a bunch of cannibals with like they look exactly the same.
You're right. I never put that together. It's funny you bring it up because I remember reading those, getting those weeklies, and thinking there was a darkness that went through that comic.
Yeah.
And it makes sense, as the years go on and you start to learn more about 2000 AD and Strontium Dog and all these British comics that were so violent and so satirical and so dark. And it made sense that it would kind of bleed into because didn't Alan Moore write a couple of Doctor Who stories too?
He absolutely did. Yes.
Some of the early Baker ones. I mean, that's talk about worlds colliding. Like, my God, Alan Moore, Dave Gibbons working on Doctor Who, and then making, the greatest graphic novel of all time. Well, my opinion anyway.
Yeah, no, it's
that and
one I wouldn't argue too much with.
That and Mary Worth.
Yeah, well, you can't argue with Mary Worth.
Collected volume. But,
are you excited about the CW Mary Worth show?
I haven't got there yet. I need to get more information. I don't want to get too excited.
I really, really hope they can get Jessica Fletcher there. I blew that.
They better hurry. That's all I'm
They
gonna say.
better hurry.
I've been let down too many times by the CW. I don't want to get my hopes up. I'm about to give up. But what's fun is what you're doing with Toy Ventures is so UK magazine.
Yeah.
Besides the content, but just the giving a premium with each issue is such a UK thing. Like I'm not sure I can think of any US magazines where I got that growing up. But from music magazines to kids magazines to girls.
Yeah, I remember Beano's used to come with all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah, like they'd always tape a badge to the front of the issue, like Dan Dare or like a Captain Scarlet thing or something. I've got a bunch of this stuff sitting in a drawer somewhere.
I had a Gnasher puppet as a kid. Dennis the Menace's dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really happy. It was just one of those cheap, McDonald's hand puppets that I'm also trying to get made in China.
There you go.
I keep wanting to rip off these ideas,
Yeah, my God. Why not? You could start a trend. Well, I always thought the natural progression of that stuff that I loved when I was younger, because I've been addicted to British magazines since I was a kid, obviously, and certainly through high school when I started, when I found Q magazine and Empire magazine, and these Q is no longer with us, but Empire is still going, and now it looks like a pamphlet. It's so thin. But Mojo and Uncut and whatever, still coming with a free CD attached to the front of the magazine. It used to be once in a while on the cover of Q, you'd get a CD sampler of the year's best music, the best of '97 or whatever. But it always made me think of those other premiums that came with British magazines. It's a very British thing to give a freebie like that away. So I'm glad to see you continue the tradition with the Toy Ventures magazine.
Yeah, I would release a CD, but no one wants to hear me sing, and
you never know. You never know. Maybe just the one with your poetry on it. You could.
Oh yeah. It's in German though.
Yeah, that's all the better. It's the romantic language, German.
The international language of love. I say that to my wife all the time.
So there you go. I hope you've learned something from this episode, and if not, it's not our fault. You just weren't paying attention. There's a lot.
You're gonna fail the test.
That's right.
We'd love to talk to you guys about this. You can hit us up in our Facebook group, Pod Stallions, which is much bigger than I ever expected it to be perfectly honest with you. It's a very thriving group, and it's a really nice community.
While we're on the subject, do you know how many people are in the Pod Stallions Facebook group? Because you're far more in there than I'm. I'm like the mysterious.
We talk about you in there. I've mentioned that.
I pop in every now and then, but I pay attention. But you're in there. But do you know? Is there a lot of people in there now in the group?
Oh yeah. Let me get you the population of the group.
Please do.
1.7 thousand people. 1,700 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, so there you go. So if half of that watches my show, Plastic Soul, on the Entertainment Earth.
If half of that gave me $1 every week,
he was also
go to work.
And also gave us each $1 every week. But for now, if you just go and watch the new YouTube shorts and maybe hit like or subscribe or make a nice comment, then I'm halfway on my way to a series on the CW.
Yeah, where you'll be played by Jessica Fletcher. What the hell? Angela Lansbury.
Angela Lansbury, come on.
Yeah.
Angela Lansbury.
Is Mary Worth.
Yeah, because we couldn't get Margaret Rutherford because she's no longer with us.
Yeah. Doris Roberts is also no longer with us.
She'd be a good Mary Worth.
She would have been a great Mary Worth.
That'd be a good Mary Worth. Or go full Hollywood and get Charlize Theron in loads of prosthetics.
You know what's really funny is I had to go see a stage show of Annie that my daughter was on the crew of.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched it, and my wife was kind of amused. She said, I kept expecting, I guess I've watched too many Marvel movies, but I kept expecting an end credits scene. And I was like, what did you expect? Like Dick Tracy to come out and say, Annie, Mary Worth is missing. You know? And then I was like, okay, I want to see that movie. Get in little Abner's car. We've got to go.
I love it. She's like, man, we can't leave yet. What do you mean? We can't leave. There's going to be an end credits, post credits thing. Like, no, there's no credits.
Is we crazy?
Oh, come on.
But it was just an aside joke. And I was like, then I just kind of, and then I ended up trying to watch Dick Tracy that night, which is hard to find. But anyway, it got me into this whole Avengers of newspaper. And it's like, you know what? This isn't that weird. I bet you somewhere this is sitting on someone's desk
in some other multiverse. It's sitting, like the teaser at the end of Annie will be the tease for Nancy and Sluggo, like their crime spree.
The Hearst Syndicate universe is HSU
just waiting in the wings. We should do a Dick Tracy episode too, because that's a fun. We could talk about that, the merchandise, the movie.
I'm fascinated with that. I'd love to do that.
I am too, because I think that is an underrated movie, and it is insane. It is completely insane in so many ways, but it is a one of a kind. So we can
let's not give it away.
Yeah, let's not give it away.
Let's not do one now.
Yeah, don't mention the blank. Don't say anything.
Yeah. You'll have to subscribe.
All right. Well, there you go. That was fun.
Yeah, it was great. And I'd love to hear your feedback, folks. Anyway, until next time, be well and take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.